All right, weekly Tanya Summary Shiur. It's week 14, and we're doing chapters 32 and 33, both very short chapters, very essential chapters that can really elevate your life if you make proper use of them. But without further ado, let's jump right in. So, in chapter 32, the Alter Rebbe says, now that we've been discussing for a while the concept of focusing on different parts of who we are, the neshama versus the body, and focusing on that, how it applies to other people as well, the Alter Rebbe says, we now have, in a sense, a cheat code, or really just the base code for Ahavas Yisrael. Because Ahavas Yisrael is to appreciate that physicality isn't the main part of who we are. The main part of who we are is spirituality, and we all have a neshama, and all of our neshamas are connected because they're all a portion of Hashem. So the Alter Rebbe says, when you focus on this, it becomes very easy to have Ahavas Yisrael, because really, we're all the same thing. We all have a neshama, it's all a portion of Hashem. And that's the main thing between us. And the fact that we have separate bodies is a non-issue, because it's not the thing to be focusing on, right? So the Alter Rebbe says, people that consider their bodies to be the main part of who they are, for them, it really makes sense. They might have a hard time with Ahavas Yisrael, because they'll see differences between themselves and other people. But if you look at it that we're all part of like one big corpus, we're all part of one big entity, then it becomes easy to love your fellow as yourself, because your fellow literally is like yourself, because you all have a portion of the same God inside of you. The Alter Rebbe says that with this we can understand what Hillel Hazakin said about Ahavas Yisrael, when a person came to him to convert, and he said, I want you to tell me the whole Torah on one leg in order for me to be able to convert. So Hillel said, that which you do not want to be done to yourself, do not do to your fellow. And the rest of it is a commentary, he says. So he says the entire Torah is that principle of don't do what you don't want to be done to yourself to someone else. And the Alter Rebbe explains, and he says, because the point of the entire Torah is to elevate the soul over the body, to be able to come to a proper appreciation of that. So Ahavas Yisrael is really the ikr of the whole Torah. When you have an appreciation of Ahavas Yisrael, to not do to someone else something that you don't want for yourself, then that means that you come to a point of the appreciation that the soul is the main thing, that you could really have that connection, that synthesis with other people. The Alter Rebbe says, you might try to catch me on a technical point of there's a certain concept of hating a person in Judaism. It says someone that does an Avera, it's a mitzvah to hate them, and it's a mitzvah to tell their teacher to hate them. So the Alter Rebbe says, you need to understand the context in that halacha. The context in that halacha is that you have a person who's pasha very from. They know the entire concept of Yiddishkeit, and they believe in it, and the whole thing. And nevertheless, this person does an Avera, and privately you tell them about it in a loving way. And really you mean it, and they ignore your chiding, they ignore your rebuke. And the Alter Rebbe says, this is the kind of person that it says it's a mitzvah to hate them. You might think that's a cop-out, but the Alter Rebbe says, actually, no. I'm here to tell you something very important, which is that even though it's a mitzvah to hate them, it's a mitzvah to love them at the exact same time. And here we come to another point, which I think is very important to take with you in life, besides for Ahavas Yisrael, and how important it is, and how really that's the truth. We just need to appreciate it. But the Alter Rebbe says, you could look at this person and say the negative parts of them, I hate, and the positive parts, I love. Now, sometimes it's necessary to look at a person that has negative traits and to say, I could appreciate this person, and I could also appreciate that they have parts that I shouldn't be emulating, parts that I should be staying away from. And yeah, sometimes the Torah says that you need to hate a certain person. They have negative things going on in their life that might influence you negatively. You need to know that these things are not okay. But at the same time, you still need to love them. The Alter Rebbe says, you might try to get me on one more point. He says that, and this is really parenthetical, the Alter Rebbe adds it in because it's really such a non-issue, that David HaMelech says about certain kinds of people, Tachasinos anesim, I hated them with the ultimate hatred, which implies more than just this other kind of hatred, but it implies a much deeper kind of hatred. And the Alter Rebbe says this is referring to minim and apikursim, that it says they don't have a portion in Hashem. And the Alter Rebbe quotes Gemara Masechah Shabbos that elaborates on this, but the point is that sometimes a person becomes so totally engrossed in their physicality that, it seems the only part of them is their physicality. You still shouldn't be hating their spirituality, but by them, their physicality really becomes like the main part of who they are. And for them, it's possible, if you will, to say that you're able to hate them with ultimate hatred. It should be noted, though, that as far as halachic extensive purposes, the Chazon Ish, the Friedrich Rebbe, you have both on the Hasidic side and the Nigla side, the Yeshivish side, that they say that, practically speaking, to say that you have a person of this caliber of sinner. Nowadays, we don't have such a person. So, in a practical sense, as far as the halacha goes, it's not really possible to hate a person in this level of hatred that David HaMelech is describing. Anyhow, that's chapter 32. And now on to chapter 33. The Alter Rebbe says, once we made this kind of side point, which is funny to say that these points are side points because they're so essential in life, but in the flow of Tanya, they are side points. The Alter Rebbe says, now we could focus on joy of the soul. And the Alter Rebbe says a very simple meditation to have to inspire joy in your soul, which is you contemplate to each their own level, to try to imagine in their mind, to try to paint a picture of what it means that Hashem fills all of the worlds and He surrounds all of the worlds. And these are topics which we're going to be discussing later in this book, Emiras Hashem. And in this chapter, he elaborates a little bit, but this is a summary shiur, so look in this chapter for more details about how to contemplate these points. But the Alter Rebbe says, when you contemplate the greatness of Hashem in this way, then your heart will become joyous and your soul will become gladdened, because it's a really great joy when a simple person that's accorded honor by a chashuv person. And, kal v'chomer, it's not even a comparison really between Hashem, the King of all kings, that about whom it says, who is it that has tempered their heart to be able to approach Him, that Hashem still cares about us in this lowly world with all of our flaws and with all of our shortcomings, with our lack of appreciation for everything that goes on in the entire world, all of the cogs in the machine that make just our lives work and what are our lives even worth. And yet Hashem cares and He's so invested in all of the little details. And when you think about this, it's really, it's humbling, but it also makes you happy because it makes you feel special that Hashem really cares. He puts in all of that attention. The Alter Rebbe says, this explains why it says in the Gemara in Makkos that the Navi Chavakuk came and established all of the mitzvahs on one mitzvah. And the mitzvah is tzaddik be'emunasa yichya, that the righteous lives with their emunah. So the Alter Rebbe says, it's not saying that cancel the rest of the mitzvahs and now this is the only mitzvah. The Alter Rebbe says, what it's saying is that the concept of emunah, when you believe in Hashem and you believe that Hashem cares about you to such an extent, that inspires you to do the rest of it, that you'll want to connect to Him or you'll want to try to give some appreciation back, because Hashem is so invested in our lives and He cares so much about us, that inspires us to care about Him. The Alter Rebbe says, this is why he says that a tzaddik lives with their emunah. It doesn't say that they're sustained by their emunah or something like that, because it breathes life into their life. It breathes life into their avodah. Just to quote the line that is very oft quoted in Chabad, that the purpose of everything is that Hashem wants to have a place where He could be down here with us, and that thought is so inspiring. It could push you forward in your avodah, it could push you forward in your life. If there's ever a dark time or ever a time that you need inspiration, you're able to think about this, that the purpose of the entire creation, every single plane of existence, the purpose of it all is so that Hashem could be with us on our plane. And that's a really inspiring thought. The Alter Rebbe says, another line, very famous line in Chabad, that it says, Yismach Yisrael ba'esav in Tehillim, that Israel is gladdened with their doings. So the Alter Rebbe says the meaning of this is that everyone who is part of Klal Yisrael should rejoice with the joy of Hashem, that Hashem is happy when He's able to be with us in this physical world. And the Alter Rebbe says this is why it says be'esav, with their doings. Well, it doesn't say with their doing, because it's referring to this world where there's so many things going on. It's a world where not everyone appreciates godliness in the same oneness, that all of the Melachim, they're all singing to Hashem. It's a choir, it's a symphony, and it's all focused towards one entity. Everything is channeled to one place. This world is not all channeled to one place. There's a lot of different things going on. The Alter Rebbe says, nevertheless, Hashem wants to be with us down here in this world of separation, and this point itself that we live in such a world of separation and yet Hashem still wants to be with us in this world of separation should bring us joy. Anyhow, that concludes chapter 33. I think I was right in my suspicion that it's one of the shorter ones, and Emiras Hashem next week we'll be discussing more avenues of joy.